Good morning and welcome. It's Monday now, and the rain's gone, and Easter's over, and hope you all had a good weekend. This is a live podcast. I'm your host, Bob Pace, and I am here to talk about CPS and get your children and keep your children. And I know most of you out there are very anxious about your CPS case because it's something that is a strange animal, and I'm afraid you're going to find out that CPS is not your friend. They're not user friendly, and they have a bad way of deceiving people and using it. And it's an agency, the Child Protection Agency, been around for 150 years. It started about 1853, right during the Civil War, and it's supposed to help out children in camps and through neglect and abuse, and help out, you know, low income families and so forth. And so, uh, the purpose of CPS, if you want to know, is that it's supposed to protect your children from abuse and neglect, but it's also supposed to do something called family reunification. And somehow CPS doesn't believe in family reunification. I don't know if they're just um, uh, anxious, whatever it is. But we have a guest tonight, to this morning, a special guest named Sasha Hillerbrand. And she's right now from West Virginia, but her case, I think, was in another place, and she'll start in a few minutes from the beginning of the show. Um, I do want to say, I want to say thank you to attorney Vincent Davis, who produces the show and sponsors the show, and that you can contact him at 888 Also, he is my number one rule that we need to have an attorney because this is a very, very confusing mess. And you need someone to, like a doctor who does open heart surgery, you need a professional like attorney to go through CPS. They're a bunch of spaghetti nightmare time group. It's like Alice in Wonderland. You fall in a rabbit hole, don't know what it is. And hi, Danielle. Welcome back. We have people commenting, and I'm so glad to have you. Welcome, Diane she's from Atwood, Georgia. She's been a former guest. So that being said, what I'd like to do is Sasha's been waiting very anxiously to get going, so I want her to tell your story and feel relaxed and I'll let you talk all you want. I'll interject a couple questions sometimes to steer you in the kind of the right direction. So go ahead, Sasha, and start your story.
Well, I am a child of DCFS, CPS, which is known in other states. DCFS out of Illinois since the time I was 3 years old. I didn't have too many bad experiences through my foster homes, but they were racist throughout it. There we had foster kids and families that I lived with that were other ethnicities, and they were removed from the home because of the skin color and placed with an appropriate skin color family. I was adopted by these individuals, and then I was released back into the system because after the adoption, the payments had stopped. Um, then I'm also a product of a family war. By that I mean I come from the Italians and from the family history. That's where I come from. Um, I thought it was a bright idea to go with the Sicilian. Turns out that was not the case whatsoever. That was the most worst decision to starting life outside of 18 years old. Um, it started a
Wow.
lot of family drama and also told me a lot of secrets about my own personal family. My kid's father's family has sat me down and told me that they were with the Sicilian mafia through my kid's father's grandfather. Um, and at that point, it, things just kind of started getting wonky from there. CPS works with a lot of different individuals, and A lot of them have either gone to jail or, in this day's scenarios, a lot of them are pedophiles. Um,
Wow.
Unfortunately, my kid has told me just over a year ago, um, closer to 2 years ago, that her father stuck his privates in her mouth.
Ah,
CPS is currently out of West Virginia, is currently working with my kid's father and is successfully replacing them with him. Even though I have already told them about the situation, the scenarios of what we have all gone through with this man, they are still finding it a great idea. He has admitted in court that they belong with me, that it is in the best interest, as my lawyer put it, to be with their mother, and he rightfully agreed. My judge, however, found it not the case and still put me on
what is the
restriction.
imminent danger that you're? I mean, why are the children not with you? I mean, what is the imminent danger there?
Uh, for the corruption part, here's the kicker. My kid's father's new girlfriend slash baby mama slash kid's mother, however you want to put it in that case, she's also a paid hooker, high priced hooker. Now I understand that there was no name callings, but that's however is exactly the case. She's a nude stripper from out of Illinois. I want to say mostly Ottawa, Illinois. Um, and she has been able to maneuver her way into officers' lives, judges' lives, lawyers' lives, all through a lot of stuff. Like, his oldest brother has hired a private detective to get his children removed from her custody. And from what I've gathered over conversations through the family, it was over her smoking marijuana. Um, yeah, and then it became legalized in Illinois.
Wait,
They've
wait, wait, wait. Here's the problem. I don't know if this is. I mean, I don't know for a fact for Illinois, but yeah, it's legal in a lot of places, but it's
mhm,
still illegal for being around children with it, because the children have to be at least 21 to smoke it.
right.
Okay, so you don't have marijuana
At
around your
that point in time, it was illegal to smoke marijuana without a medical card. However,
well, no, I'm not talking
um,
about you. I'm talking about the children
not
can't be around.
around the
That would
children. At
be
that
that
time,
would be
point in time
neglect.
with
That would be neglect. That would be neglect with your children. So I'm just surprised that the CPS would encourage people to smoke marijuana around their kids.
that's not what I said at all.
Oh, I misunderstood you.
Um,
Okay.
no, his oldest brother, that's from the conversations I've gathered. And at that point in time, there wasn't even a restriction to smoking around your children. It was just highly suggested not to.
Really?
When,
That is the
yeah,
Illinois CPS.
right.
Yeah, okay. Because in
Um,
California, never from day one or anything there, and some of the other states may agree or disagree, which is important because I've been preaching that if you're going to do marijuana, it may be legal to do marijuana, whether it's medical or not. But if you have children, they have to be, it's like smoking cigarettes. You're not supposed to smoke cigarettes around your children. And
right.
so, and you don't want to have your children partake in drinking alcohol.
Well,
Again,
yeah.
it's the 21. So I misunderstood you because I don't think you're implying that. But yeah, I know it's legal for people like yourself who are 21 to smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol, do marijuana. But with
Mhm.
children, and I just, is CPS, I don't mean to stop you there. It sounds like there's a lot of sexual corruption there. They
Oh,
allow
yeah,
all
there is.
this with these kinds of people that are, I mean, there's nothing wrong with stripping or doing adult things, but the problem
In
being is that
adult places,
children,
no, of course not. But
yeah, it's
teaching
not an
children,
adult.
however, it is.
No, I agree, and that's what they have to separate. They have to be a parent first, and do the adult things somewhere else, and in the privacy of their wherever they are. But doing adult things in front of children is not right, or using adult children, and especially I cannot believe that your husband is given the children, and the judge goes for giving the children to him when he has said that he has oral sex with his children. Is that what you're saying? Is it he's told the judge that?
Pretty much.
Wow.
He told my judge that yes, they belong with me, and
No, no. I mean, they sound like that, but they won't give you to you. And I'm still trying to figure out why they will not. What is the imminent danger that you exhibit to your children?
calling the world out on their stuff right now. Because also in West Virginia, it is highly advertised and promoted um, for incest. They have a couple of families that are known for their incest, actually.
Is that against the
And
law, man? Is that against the law, or in West Virginia that's legal?
past your second cousins, it's against the law.
Past. Okay. All right. So, okay. So incest past the second cousin. I mean, what
Right.
kind?
But
Okay.
they still have situations out there where it's mother and son and father and daughter situations going on.
Really? Now, are these individuals under the age of 18?
Um, More than likely, yes. As my child, yes, she was definitely under the age of 18.
No, I meant not the child, but the mother or whoever was doing the sexual thing with the child. How old were they?
Um, in all honesty, I can't pinpoint any like actual
Well, were they under 18? I mean, were these two
people that
people?
I've met. But the
Yeah.
stories I've heard and read, and it happens everywhere. Like I said, I was 3 when I was taken from my mom for the same situation.
Oh, that's I didn't
And
know when you were 3. So you were taken from your mom because your mom was having sexual things with you?
no, she allowed a family member into the household. I found out later was her seventh cousin, which in the state of Illinois is anything past seventh cousin is legal.
Okay. I'm you're helping me a lot and you're helping our listeners because this is a subject matter that isn't talked too much. And I'm glad that you're expressing this because this is horrible. You're 3 years old being exposed to sex. That's not the idea of children. There's not supposed to be, sexual exposed there because that is wrong.
No, because it's very harmful to the child. There is
I
torment
mean,
and torture.
you yourself, you grew up now in foster care, correct? Is that how you
Yeah.
grew up?
Um, to the age of 10, and then I was
Now, from the age
constantly
of 3
placed
to 10,
in. I'm
were the
sorry?
was an age of uh, 3 to 10, were the foster care people that you're involved in did these sexual practices?
The foster carers I was involved with? No.
Oh, they weren't. So you had a normal life from age 3 to 10 with these foster parents?
Of course not. Anybody in foster care would tell you that it wasn't normal. They're constantly bouncing around from placement to placement, house to
Okay,
house, and
okay. I'm
with
just trying
different
to find out
individuals.
because I haven't heard your story about you at age 3 to 10. And now at 10, what happened at 10?
I was placed in different group homes, mental institutions for mostly anger management, because I do like to speak my mind and I speak the truth, and I don't. It is what it is. Like it's black
I
and white.
agree. I
It's not
agree.
going to
You're a
differ
strong
from
woman.
paper to mouth.
Right. You're a strong woman, and I admire you for even speaking about this. This is a subject matter that a lot of people are taboo about. But I'm glad you're speaking about it. And now, during that time of from 10 to what 18, you're still bouncing around.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you bounced around, were all didn't you have any foster care that was any good during your whole time?
Um, I do remember a family that I lived with. One of my last foster homes before moving into adoptions. It was actually, I believe, my second to last foster home before moving into adoption. I actually still keep in contact with the oldest son today. I've spoken with his mom. I'm sorry, our mom, a couple of times. But it was just like a brief overview of, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great meeting you again situation. It was, of course, through messaging, so it wasn't like too personal.
Right.
But yeah, we've contacted each other a couple times.
Did you have any normal
Very rarely, but occasion.
relationships?
I'm sorry.
Did you have any normal relationships when you were a teenager?
What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, people when they go into puberty and they go first as into be a teenager, you start to be interested in boys. Boys are interested in girls. They go out dating. They
Mine
may.
was a business deal.
I'm sorry. What?
Uh, Mine was a simple, you can't call me racist. Here it is, business deal. That's how I lost my virginity at 16.
Wow. I mean, uh, and this thing about involvement with the mafia and the different skins, I never heard. I mean, this is still going on today. The mafia and everything.
Um, I can honestly say I'm not too sure about the mafia. As far as like the Italian Sicilian strictly situation.
Yeah.
Um, in all honesty, I still consider anything that is banding together as one group a gang. I do not consider it a mafia or an organization. It's just the gang. Um, there's organization within the gang. There's mafia status within the gang, but it's more just a gang of people that are banding together for a voice of whatever cause it is.
Okay.
Um, but there's gangs out there. There's plenty of them. There's
Well,
women
no,
gangs, there's men gangs, and there's combined gangs and
right,
all together.
right.
Mostly, I find myself facing females who are unclear of sexual desires past uh, a mental standpoint.
Okay.
Um, there's, you know how incest, scientifically, it kind of dumbs you down a lot and disforms you a lot.
Well,
There's
I've never really been exposed to incest myself personally. My wife of 32 years, she had incest with her brother, and her parents did not protect her. And she was raped at 15. And again, when she was raped a second time. And so she's had a bad exposure to sex. And the people that I've heard that have these kind of incidents really have trouble relationships with men. And that's why I was asking you about dating and so forth. Is that your perception of a relationship may be a lot different than someone else's perception of a relationship because you may have had a lot, especially with the gangs and the incest and so forth. Is just that typically speaking, I think that men and women, or women and women, or men and men, or where it should be uh, at least over the age of 18, and
Oh, of course. And
they
actually, in all
children do
honesty,
not
I put it at
go.
23 because you can't even take an 18-year-old to a bar to have a drink. So if you're 65 and you're looking at an 18-year-old, what are you going to do? Take her to dinner and then have her drink water? Like, you can't even take her to bed really after that because unless she's like one of those people that drink beforehand. And like,
Well, the age
what
is
are you going to do as an older person, regardless if you're 65 or 35, with an 18-year-old? I
well,
mean,
it's
26 is even pushing it with an 18-year-old. Like, what can you honestly do with an 18-year-old past the age of 21? Not really much.
no, I agree. I agree. And the thing
So,
is, that is really too young for relationships. Um, I mean, the only person I can think of that had their early age was Bo Derek, the actress. At 15, she met John Derek, who I think was in his 50s. And so there is a difference. And I just don't.
now
Uh,
if you're marrying for money or business standpoint to get out of
yeah,
your cruddy life, that's between you and the husband. But at the same time, that's we are in a different age. These little children need to continue being little children because they are getting grown far too fast. The apartment complex I live at. I got little 6-year-olds running around in booty shorts and freaking tops that barely go past their tatas, and they ain't even got none. They're 6. But at the same standpoint, you look at the parents. Mom doesn't even leave the upstairs. The dad pretty much teaches them how to dress just like that and how to act like a proper person to get a decent boyfriend, decent looking boyfriend, because they actually tell you, the parents will tell the children what child to go after in order to go further in life.
Oh my
Like
goodness. I
these
mean,
are the things that are being taught.
wow.
They're not being learned in school. They're being taught at home.
CPS is not stopping these behaviors, not
No,
investigating them.
because their family has money, and also they're in higher chairs. Uh, I want to say one's a congressperson out of Tennessee.
They're corrupt too,
That
huh?
corruption does not stop nor start in our higher ups chairs. It's actually the civilians that are telling these people, like, hey, well, you know what, these things are going to happen if you don't fulfill this.
Yeah.
That's why I've been told multiple different times that what is it? Pedophilia is going to be now looked at as just a simple, oh, he's just a simple alcoholic or a drug addict. He just does crack on the side of the street, and he passes out occasionally, but the nearest EMS will just drive by, wake him up, and it'll be all good.
Oh,
That's not how the pedophile works. That's not how it works at all. Like, really, you're going to start seeing old men with little children. Didn't we just come out of those stages when the stagecoaches kind of tipped over and we went into cars?
well,
Like,
that was the Lolita complex. It seems like older men have always had the Lolita complex because they like the young girl, and it's hard because
then
some,
get your wife Botox.
yeah, well, you can't. You can try to slow age down. You can try to do everything, but you have to be more into the person instead of the shell of the person. You don't want to be into the chemistry between two people is inside. So what you're telling me is this remarkable. And so you're brought up in that environment. You had those feelings, and you started to have a family yourself. And
Hmm.
now your family, your children are being exposed to things they shouldn't be exposed to by your husband. Is that correct?
He's just the father of my children. We were never married.
Were you a
We
partner?
talked about it for a long while, but we were never married. No,
Why were you together?
we're not. We haven't been together since like 2015.
I know, but in the beginning you had a child. So why were you beginning? Why were you together having children in the beginning? Was there chemistry, or was this a sexual?
It was an easy thing to do.
Oh, okay.
He was always in my face. He actually told me that he was going to come find me no matter what. He's an over the road truck driver. Um, I had actually moved out of state to kind of get away from him.
So
But he told me he'd come get me
he was
anyway. So
forced.
it was just an easy thing to do on why
So
I stayed with him.
He's doing that gang like, the gang like thing where they scare people to do things.
And he was very good at it.
Wow. So he manipulated you, and that's where you say learn it now. You're out of his life, but you have your children. You don't want your children exposed to this.
No, any sane person wouldn't. I actually had to pull my children out of a school because of a specific name as her teacher telling us that she doesn't know how to help my child read or do math.
Whoa.
At that point, a prominent family of West Virginia is telling me they don't know how to help my child in school when they are the teacher in the school for her. Yeah, I think we could do better guessing through it and taking your guys' yearly test to see if she's up to speed or how much further she has to go to get up to speed.
Wow. Wow. So your case right now, they want to put the father with your child and not with you because you
Um,
speak out or because you.
Here's the funny part.
Okay.
Because I've been so outspoken and very blunt, and a little too blunt, in all honesty, I do owe a couple officers an apology. But I've been told by a couple neighbors, and it's been insinuated in through the court processes that my children might actually be dead.
What do you mean dead?
There is a prominent family in the local area of West Virginia. He told me, good luck getting your children back. They might be dead. I've gone to a couple of the CPS meetings, and they've insinuated that they were no longer of this earth. And of this earth, no longer of this earth is exact words
Yeah, but
from one of the meetings.
are these people cult leaders? Are they prophets, or what are they?
Hmm. More or less cult leaders.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of people that listen to YouTube and believe that YouTube is true. YouTube is a forum that we can put anything on it to certain limitations. And, it's a collection of everything you wanted to find out, anything that you wanted to find out in life or do what you wanted in life. And so, um, I hate to say this, the cult leaders really use YouTube to their advantage. And it sounds
Hmm.
like you're in a situation. Have you ever thought about taking your children and moving to another state? Or would you be considered thieving? I mean, who has custody of your children right now? CPS or
It
your?
is very unclear. Let's just say that. Points in time, they were supposed to be in different counties. Points in time, they were supposed to be with their father. And then after that, points in times, kind of like insinuated that they might just be dead.
Right, right,
Um,
right.
Nothing has been very clear from the get go. Uh, from the start of it, I received a phone number that went straight to voicemail. Mind you, this phone number didn't even have a voicemail, so you couldn't leave a voicemail. Yeah, how am I supposed to get a hold of a CPS worker that doesn't have a phone to leave a message on?
Yeah,
And there's no way of contacting him because it won't even ring on the other line. Hmm.
that is that. Wow. Uh,
So cult, maybe. I do, however, know that witchcraft is involved. Witches, or whatever you want to call them. My neighbors are, well, I can't say their last name.
yeah,
But they are a prominent family within the witchcraft world.
that's the
Um,
Witchit. The Witchit. It's called Witchit, and it's the religion. Actually, is what they
mhm.
call it. I'm not saying that we would call it religion, but worshiping witchcraft is the Witchit is what they call them. And so, again, people can do that privately, but they're not supposed to be putting their lifestyle on your kids or you. I mean, you're a mother who is very concerned about her kids, and that's why you're talking. This is what you're doing. I mean, you can be doing other things besides that, but you love your children. I can tell it.
I do. I love my children with all of my being. If it wasn't for them, my life would have probably been a lot different.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Honestly,
You're down
yeah,
the road. Yeah, being brought up.
I was looking at suicide before I found out I was pregnant with my first.
Wow.
Um,
Now, did you and your partner at that time want to have a child, or he didn't care? He just
no, in all honesty, I was taking birth control. I had moved out of
oh,
state to get away from him, and I had run out of birth control, and I didn't want to. With birth control, it also helps regulate a period, and
right, right.
um, I had come back for a refill.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, that was my mistake. I came back for the refill.
Oh, wow. One moment here, I need to say something. I want to thank attorney Vincent Davis, who sponsors our show. Contact Vince at 888 for help. Okay, go ahead.
Um, it's gotten so bad. I've been looking at homelessness since
Oh,
they've managed to successfully kidnap my children, as one of my Facebook messages politely puts. Um,
oh, I'm so sorry. You don't. No, homeless isn't the way you want to go. You really need some help. That's what it really does. And it
I
sounds
do.
Did they
I
fire?
do, and I've tried reaching out, but it seems like this female issue we have is not going to change anytime soon because of this other individual who has managed to become just a brilliant stripper and blackmail quite a few people, and it all has to do basically around sex.
Well, there's money.
So,
I mean, she's doing it because of money. She isn't doing it because she gets high
well,
off.
she's already got the money. I'm sure she's not really being paid much else outside of what she's already been paid.
Right.
Um,
But did she do this?
Especially if you're blackmailing people, who's gonna really want to be, here's some money, shut the fuck up.
Oh, wow.
I apologize, I shouldn't have said that part, but
No, 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 no.
but it's legit. Like,
Yeah.
you're a judge. You don't really want to continue handing money over if things are getting well out of your control or becoming public view. If you're an officer of the law, you can't really be associated with um, providing hookers protection and protecting drug dealers. You can't put your reputation out there or risk putting your reputation out there um, to be looked at in that kind of sort of light.
Yeah.
But as a drug dealer, you're facing prison anyway, so it really doesn't matter to you. But at the same time, you have other people to look at to uh, watch what you say, who you're turning in. And that's where like all of my situation comes at a standstill because there is a lot of all of those parties involved. But it, like I said, it mostly revolves around sex. So if judges are willing to be honest with their wife, it wouldn't be that much of a big deal. Things could get fixed. If even officers were willing to be honest with their wife, it wouldn't be that much of a big deal. We could still have everything fixed to where these scumbags that are getting away with everything are no longer lining their pockets because they have nothing else to gain from anything really.
Well,
Like, you got pedophiles constantly roaming the streets more than a drug dealer who sold weed. Weed is becoming legalized everywhere, but you have people that have either raped or even touched on a child in any way roaming our streets freely
yeah.
and being more protected than those that are just trying to survive. Like, that's not okay for anyone, any situation.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather have weed on the streets being smoked everywhere, and if I'm not okay with it, wear a mask because I don't like the smell of it, than to have somebody watching my child on the playground from afar and
Yeah.
doing God knows what and planning God knows what.
The perversion. Yeah. I guess I never think of West Virginia or Illinois as having a bad case of what you're going through, or I paint a
It's
different
very
picture.
well hidden.
Yeah, I mean, it's the conservative states. I don't think I mean, California is wild, okay? And you expect those kinds of things in California. But in West Virginia, I
Mm,
don't look at it that way. I mean, the only thing I knew about was West Virginia Mountaineer football when my son's friend, the football quarterback, they had four schools. He played at West Virginia, and because of all the concussions, he now had to retire from his pursuit to go to the NFL. But all I heard was the football part of West Virginia, and I never really met to me. If I've had other people talk about West Virginia, but never they talked about how poor it is and how they don't really help out the people that are poor, and they take advantage of the poor. And I I just behind the scenes, you're saying there's a lot of pedophilia and sex and strippers and everything goes on there. I just strippers are everywhere. So don't get me wrong. But
listen, West Virginia says they're poor. However, that's not entirely the case. There's coal mines, there's tree logging places everywhere. I don't see how that's even possible. First of all, second of all, nothing but rich people move to West Virginia. I mean, like in as far as the California, they also made a comment that Californians are getting sick and tired of California. And
Oh, sure,
actually,
Walter.
there's been an uprise in moving to West Virginia. In
Oh,
all honesty,
okay.
there's been notes of that too. But
But
it
you know what?
is by far a poor state. I've actually had to go to a couple food pantries, and they don't treat them like garbage. They have some of the best of the best. Yeah, you may get some day old bread, but at the same sense, you're hungry. You're gonna eat it within 2 days. It's not gonna go bad. And
Yeah.
if it is like on the verge of like that one day, they put it in the freezer, so then you do have 2 days after it unthaws to eat it.
Okay.
Um, it's
But
not the poor people being treated bad, it's the rich people paying off other individuals to keep things as they are, to
that is pro. That is
keep
pro.
the
Yes.
incest and the pedophilia going. So people say dumb to everything. It is
So
that it's
so is
not them being
incest
poor.
and pedophilia, is that uh where you're at? It's everywhere. I mean, it's really a high
It's
case.
everywhere. It's like all across the world. It's not just these two states or California or New York or something like that. It's all across the world.
Sex trafficking. Yes,
Yes. And
yeah.
actually West Virginia it's pretty prominent for its trafficking period, whether it be human or sex or drugs. West Virginia has its stories about its trafficking. And it also has its stories all across the map. Like in every genre you want to throw it in, it has a story within it.
Yeah.
Um, it's a beautiful place to be if you're blind to the horrific things in life. If you are,
Naive.
yes, it's a beautiful place to be. One of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen. And I've been to a lot of different states. I mean, my kid's father was a truck driver.
Okay.
Me and my children did live in the truck as well, so we traveled a lot with him too.
Oh, okay.
Um, it's it's really just a horrible thing, and it's not just CPS. I've come to find. And I call this a mistake. I call the National Children's Missing and Reported Hotline because my children were at risk of being sex trafficked because their father is that type of person. He's tried to get me involved with being a prostitute, and I told him no. That's
Why would
why
he
I've
want
gotten a lot
his
of
woman?
attacks.
Why would he want his woman to be a prostitute? I mean, does he get
He,
satisfaction out of the idea of
he's a
that?
part of the crud. Like
So,
his
so he sees other
he has
women.
told me
He
his
sees other
family's part
women
of.
that he doesn't exclusive see you. He sees other women.
Uh, Probably. In all honesty, I've really never known him to cheat on me with anybody but a previous partner. And that's including an office lady where he worked at.
Okay, so who has custody of the children right now? Because if you don't have a
By
marriage,
legal
you don't
courts,
have a
he
partner.
does.
Why?
But
Why does he have it by legal court?
by West Virginia's legal court, he does. He has custody and guardianship of them. However, if you speak to other local law enforcement around his area, he might not reside in the same household and hasn't for a while.
But the thing is, why can't you contest the custody? You're the mother.
Because I'm not sleeping with anyone, really. Not who they want me to sleep with. They haven't been offered a position to sleep with officers. I
Oh, you
told them
mean,
no.
oh, geez. It's that
I
sick? It's that sick where they want to manipulate you, who you sleep with, who you're with.
That's the problem today. Like Native Americans, they used to have arranged marriages, and I'm sure other cultures they did too. Um, but mm, mm, arranged sleeping partners on multiple levels, yeah, that seems more like college times, not.
Or being a hippie. I mean, there's a period of time where it's free love and hippie. I mean, um, I just,
Yeah,
I
but I'm assuming they weren't in the streets screwing each other. No, I wasn't around during that time, so I wouldn't know.
yeah, they weren't in the streets, but they were section the '60s. They were exploring a lot of their sexuality, and
Which goes
uh,
into the witchcraft thing, because his family and my family are actually both involved with the witchcraft.
yeah,
Or
that's a
his.
part. I had a first wife that was involved in Wicked, and that was one of the reasons I tried to bring her to a Christian church and show her something different because she had a very abusive lifestyle. Her parents weren't married.
As it
A
can
lot of
come
it-
with witchcraft.
yeah, a lot of it comes with how you're brought up or how you're living. I mean, her boyfriend murdered somebody, and went to prison for it, and so if you're only exposed to that kind of lifestyle, drugs and stuff like that, we never talked about incest, which she did early on, but it's what you're showing to me is something I just am really amazed at.
Mm. It's a mess. It's a horrible mess.
Well,
It's
let's
it's
focus.
disgusting.
Let me focus my talents or my help or my understanding or knowledge of hell to help you. You come on the show to talk about your situation, and you were brought up in foster care, and a lot of the kids are ruined. There's a girl from Kentucky, from Richmond, called Kay, who's on here a lot, and she was brought up by foster care, and then CPS, because she was in foster care, took her children, and it's sad because you know there may have been bad parents. I mean, was your mom a bad mom to you? Do you remember hearing anything about that?
Um. Oh well. Uh. In all honesty, I can't say.
Okay, so you don't really know too much your mom because you're three at the time, and it's sad
I've
because
I've re-met the family. About the age of 15, 16. I re-met the family.
oh, okay,
I've learned a lot. Our family is my biological family is involved in almost every hmm, sanction of the world. And I say that just to put it on perspective. It's any nationality that you can see walking this earth is probably within my family. Um, in
what
my
does the
immediate
skin,
family.
what does the skin color got to do with?
Also, as I was saying, our family is connected with pretty much every organization out there, gang. Uh, anything from yeah, from
The
I'd
only
say
organization I
RC
ever watched,
to Mason.
yeah, was the Sopranos, which was a TV series about
Mm,
gangs. And so
I
that's
never
my
really
only
saw it.
exposure to the gangs. And what I saw was somebody putting something on, a movie. It's for entertainment purposes anyway. But
Hmm.
I know that gangs do control families, and families are part
They
of that.
do.
And in Italy, they seem to be really strong there. That's why you mentioned the groups that you're mentioning. But there's
Yes,
gangs
with
everywhere.
families.
There's gangs everywhere in the family's control, and so you broke away from that. Somehow
I
you
have
articulated.
not. I'm still trying.
Oh, okay.
Uh, Honestly, I just want to work on my grandpa's farm and work up at the truck shop and live a normal life, growing some corn.
And maybe
Uh,
raising your children.
of course, and raising my children. but that was always my ideal thing through life. But CPS finds it different. CPS has been neglectful throughout all of my proceedings. Um, but they've also come to light with a couple of their own neglect issues that have been called out on other people, um, and has been verified that they were neglectful through the state of West Virginia. They had multiple calls. It's I don't know. Am I allowed to say the town that they had the issue out of?
The
That
town,
became
sure.
like
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, it's fine.
Sisonville.
Okay.
Sisonville, they had a few kids. I'm not exactly sure how many. I'm want to guess around 7 kids.
Yeah.
Um, that were locked in a storage shed out back with no food, no water, no nothing. They CPS was
Oh,
called multiple times. Law enforcement was also called multiple times,
and
and
they.
nobody went out to check. This
Oh,
lady ended up going viral over the incident, and come to find out, yes, there was neglect and abuse involved, and these children were actually foster children and not the children of the people of the household.
right. Right. Well, there was an incident this past week on Saturday night where 12-year-olds and 11-year-olds and 13-year-olds were out at some shopping mall or something in there, and 7 children were shot. And I'm trying to tell you, where are the parents for these children? Why are children at age 12 doing adult things? And that's what a lot of our problem goes with the family. But if the family doesn't have the parenting skills, doesn't have the knowledge, or they were once, in shelters or street kids or something, it's kind of repeats itself. And you're remarkable because you're telling me you know the difference between right and wrong. And that is good.
Well, as most people should know the difference between right
No,
and
they don't.
wrong.
They really don't. Excuse me one more minute. Minute. I have to say, I want to thank the Mr. Vincent Davis for providing this show. He is the one that sponsors it, and you can contact Vincent at 888-888-6582 for help. Okay, back to you then. Um, so, uh, you want your children. So, how do we? I guess is there a court case open right now?
Unfortunately, there is not.
Okay,
In all
so
honesty, I'm
who
not
has
sure how
who
I
has the
can
custody of
fight
the
this.
children? Then the father.
Yes.
Do you have
Through
visitation
legal
rights?
court system.
Yeah. Do
No.
you have no?
They refused to give me visitation rights.
Oh, huh. And why? I mean, what one thing are they against you because they're connected with gangs?
I'm not entirely too sure.
I mean, I'm trying to see now. Have you talked to an attorney at all?
Um,
A professional attorney, not a public defender.
uh, I called every attorney from my town to Charleston,
Yeah.
and the best I got was you don't have $7,000 to pay for an attorney.
Right. I know it's always the money part, the money sort of thing. How about this? Have you tried to talk to your congressman, your senator? Have you called their office?
I was suggested to go to our local mayor, however, and I did not.
No, the mayor. I'm trying to tell you, local government's not going to be helpful. You need someone connected to the federal government because if your
Hmm.
case or you were presented right now to Congress, a lot of eyes open up because several weeks ago, congressmen had all the CEOs of all the social media, Instagram, they had Facebook, they had, TikTok, all these different social, Twitter, X, Elon Musk. And Elon Musk was president of all the CEOs of all these social media were in Congress 2 weeks ago. And the sole purpose was Congress asking is why do you allow young people access? Why is there no protection for young people? Because that's how the young people are learning everything through social networks. It's very easy to get on a computer, type in Twitter, and there's nothing that protects you from seeing all the stuff that's on there.
Yep, that's actually why I also banned Twitter and YouTube from my household.
Right. Well, that's where the Congress people that were talking to CEOs, they should have reversed it, and the CEOs should have said this. They said, what mechanisms are parents? The parents are where it's at. If the parents don't monitor their children or want to know what they are, I mean, as parents, you are responsible to make sure your children are safe. And you don't want them in environments of incest and pedophilia and sex trafficking and adult entertainment. Those are areas that are not made for children. That's why we have a law. I mean, you go to a place for stripping, and they're not supposed to be 15-year-olds and 14-year-olds in there, even though there may be, because people can get fake IDs and they can sneak in or whatever it is, but they're not supposed to. So what I'm trying to say is that it seemed like the Congress people were interested in how the children should be protected, but they were focusing on the wrong thing. The COs can put mechanisms, but I'm trying to help you thinking that maybe your story could enlighten a congressman or senator to discuss, to make changes. Even the governor, if you thought about the governor of West Virginia, talking to his office.
Uh,
I did. I talked to my
in
governor.
all honesty, I have spoken with the governor of Illinois.
Okay.
Um,
What did he say? Or she say? I don't know who the governor is.
there wasn't really much that he could say.
He didn't
But
want to help. He didn't want to help.
Illinois has made drastic changes, and that's why they are they're considered one of the most corrupt states. But they are pretty strict on their ways of life too. Hence why I was taken at 3 from my mother. They don't really condone or promote it. They try to dwindle it off as much as they can in a more private setting. Hence why they're corrupted, because they don't advertise it nationally or worldwide. They try to keep their things under wraps so it doesn't become like it is today. They try to keep families together mostly, is from what I've seen. There the most I've heard about incest for Illinois was literally married couples sleeping with other family members that are married couples who have absolutely no blood relations whatsoever. So that's like the kind of incest they look at.
Well, that's
Um,
swapping. That's swapping. That's called, couple
right,
swapping.
right.
That's nothing to do with incest. That's just.
But I mean, it still can be perceived as incest because you're married to your wife's family, and
Oh, you said that these people had
somebody's not.
family relationships, or they did. They're
Yeah,
cousins.
well, yeah. I mean,
Oh,
like, so
okay.
if I got married, uh, like, not saying this is a case scenario, I could allow my cousin to mess with my husband. Yes, she's my relation, but we're not sleeping
Well,
together.
no, that's an alternative lifestyle. I don't think that's the norm in American society that we sleep around. Or are you saying that maybe it is?
But
You
it
think,
kind of is.
oh, okay.
It kind of is. It's just dwindling back onto the children as well, because
Yeah, it's going to happen.
people are forceful with some things, and some people aren't as violent as they should be to not allow these things to happen.
Well, they should know right from wrong. Maybe it's in our school system, but I'm sitting here
Oh, it
trying to
definitely
focus.
is.
I'm trying to focus on how they help you. And I'm trying to say that if attorneys are doing nothing for you and it takes a lot of money. But I know that by talking to the government, the senators, or whatever it is, because I was dating a relationship, and this person needed her license. This was a physical therapist, and she wanted to start a job. And the governor, the not the governor, but the state of California was taking their too long time. So I knew who the governor was. He lived in my neighborhood, and so I called him up, and he said he put me in touch with the lieutenant governor, who right away got the license down the next day. And that was a simple phone call. It's only because I've been over my lifetime talking to CEOs, talking to politicians, and talking to the heads of states of anybody. I've met presidents, I've talked to presidents. Um, I've been very lucky and fortunate because my background, I was brought up in a military background, and my dad was uh, a high-ranking officer of the Navy, and so I got exposed to a lot, and
Mm.
so I carried that over with me in my professional life here. That if I don't like something, I'll go to the CEO. Like I used to be really good friends with the CEO of Bank of America in North Carolina, and we could email each other. And people said, "Well, how do you arrange that?" They want to know the inside. CEOs and Congress people, and they want some input from us down at the low end. And I'm thinking that your answer to your question is, since you don't have custody, is kind of twofold. Is since you don't see your children, you need to move to another environment that, you say you want to work on the farm with your grandfather, but you're still in the middle of all the incest and pedophilia. I thought maybe you could move to another place and restart your life over again. And then maybe still open the case to have your children back. Because the truck driver guy, he's not going to want to be responsible for those kids. He's going to give those kids off. They get tired. You
Mhm.
know, the bad people get tired and they'll throw people away. And those kids will be lost again. And maybe there's a way that you can, um, you know, uh, um, get your children to have some part of your life with your children. I don't know. I've lost my daughter. CPS stole my children. They trafficked my children, and it was stupid. They told my daughter, divorce your parents, which she did, and to change your name and to sue your birth certificate. CPS told them. And that's what happened in my case. I had three of my children taken, stolen by CPS corruptly, and they were hurt in foster care. I did get my two sons back because I had to sell my home and get everything. So
So
I
I'm
feel for
sorry, you had to sell your home in order to get your children back?
yes, yes.
That's extortion.
I know it is. I know it is. And they violated my civil rights and constitutional rights, but I couldn't afford an attorney to sue them. I couldn't afford an attorney to sue them. And that's the sad part is that my sons, I still encourage them to see their
Mhm.
sister, even though they're divorced, but they still see my sister. And I hope one day, she's 21 now, one day that she'll talk to me. But the whole family on my wife's side, where the allegations that came in that weren't true, have put stumbling blocks with our older children, because we have older children too, and they don't talk to my wife and I at all. And so we're heartbroken. And I lost 40 years of hard working to get that home. I mean, that took a long time, and I had to start all over again. And at my age, it's so hard for me to find a job because people think old people can't work. Right now, they think our president candidates can't work. They're too old. And I don't know. There are two different philosophies and two different things there. And we got a third candidate out there, but you know, that's not addressing our issue, your issue, and my issue. And I do want to say this is that my time is running out. I don't want to lose you, but can you come back another time and share some more of your story, and maybe we can help you further? I'd love to see you again. Okay, Sasha.
Oh,
I
yeah.
want to
We
thank
just need
you.
to schedule a
Right.
time.
Right. You just contact Grace, our producer, at grace at vincentwdavis.com. Also, I want everybody out there to, I want to thank Mr. Davis for producing the show and having the show. And and he sponsors the show. So please contact Vincent Davis at 888-888-6582 for help. He has a strategy session, a consultation for $49.99, $50 to talk about the strategies of fighting CPS and getting your children back. So for $50, it's a good deal for 30 minutes of his time. He's one of the best in the industry. So please contact him at 888-888-6582. Tell him that Bob Pace sent you. And when you talk to Mr. Davis, say that Bob Pace sent you. I want to thank Danielle Vaughn, who made some comments. And she's from Atworth, Georgia. She's been on before. Also, we have Maria Isabel. Her kids were legally taken in January 9th. I don't know what city and state she's from. And I'd like you to come back, Maria, and be on the show too. And I'd love to help you, Maria. And I really feel for all you listeners out there, I'm so sorry you're going through this because it's not fair. Sasha was very good to open her heart and express something that we don't talk much about. We don't talk about incest or pedophilia or adult entertainment with our children. That's like taboo maybe to a lot of people out there, but I'm glad you brought it to light. And it opens my eyes, and I want to do some research on the internet about that so that it can help out other listeners on my shows, because I'm on 14 times a week, 7 days a week, morning and evening, and I'm here to help others share my story of things that work for me that may work for you. And I want to be a driving force because you're a good woman. You're young. I don't know how old you are, but you're very young, and you still love your children. And so I hope that you meet somebody, or I hope your life gets turned around. I really do, Sasha.
I appreciate that, Bob.
And I'm going to sign off now. God bless you all. Keep fighting for your children. And I'll see you the next time I'm on again tonight at 7 p.m. This is Bob Pace